When Sister sent me an email asking me to do this, I immediately said yes, of course. But when she said that, she had this interesting paragraph at the end of her little invitation. She said, "I think the fig tree is the modern gospel." There's Dan. Can't you take that as a great compliment? The fig tree is the modern gospel. I had an interesting reaction to that. First one was intellectual. I said, "Come on, Marianne, there's only 4 gospels. There's really only one gospel about Jesus Christ. What do you mean it's a new gospel? There's a whole new text of the gospel that's being written." I didn't think that she could be that far off base, and she's not. But I captured, as I thought, reflected upon it more, that she clearly was on board, very much on board. The fig tree, as an instrument of communication in this area, among our churches, really is a herald of good news. It's a herald of good news. It brings us together. It does inform, it does inspire, and it calls us to being involved in the church. And when you heard that on the television or the radio in the old days, breaking news, you stopped everything and you listened because you knew something radically important was going on. It was going to be good news or bad news, but you better listen because it's going to involve you. It's going to infect your lives. But what do we have today? Breaking news, breaking news. A squirrel fell off the telephone pole. And so we are prone to turn on the television and let it drone on and on and on, and he didn't miss some of the important things that happened to us that were involved. Well, it's been a long time since those heralds stood at the city gates and announced the good news. St. Paul saw himself as one such herald in verbal form announcing the good news. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John certainly saw themselves as individuals who were sharing something worthwhile writing down, preserving, using as an anchor for Christian faith. And that was a long time ago, before Gutenberg's printing press. The first to be printed was the gospel, the Word of God. But of course we know now, through history, how that printed Word of God has flourished into a medium we now call the print medium. And there's a tension in our culture and our society today to not only get rid of the cursive writing, as we've heard here in our city at times, but also to get rid of the written word. The people don't need a written word. But a paper, a newspaper like the Victory would argue quite eloquently and insistently that that is hardly the case. Why does the print media still carry its importance? Because it needs to inform, not just pass on news that we might not even hear in our busyness of life, but something that anchors itself on our dinner tables and our coffee tables, and even in our pockets. It anchors something. It informs us. It informs us. And in looking at the content as any editor would need to know, you don't just put things in there to fill up the space. I don't think you'll find in any issue of the Victory news about a squirrel falling off a telephone. Each and every item in every issue of this paper is worth devouring, taking a look at. And it's a very unique instrument here in our Christian communities because it does pull together and involve us even as an instrument in itself, in a sense of being the church of God, the people of God, being drawn together in a common fashion and with a common mission. Involves us in doing work for the common good. The common good. It's a privilege and an honor to be able to honor the Victory today. Pardon the pun, but this lady has left a great stamp on our back in the early days. I've never really figured out, I missed the very beginning of the video today, I've always figured out why the name of the fig tree. But there is a story in the Gospels about the fig tree where they see a fig tree that's not bearing much fruit. They want to cut it down. And the master says, let's just play around with it a little bit and fertilize it some more. As it was in the historical part here, be patient, be patient, be patient. And look where this fig tree now has borne fruit. It does inform, it does inspire, and it still calls us to be involved in our faith communities, to do what we can to build the common good, to share good news that the work of God is still very much alive among us.